Welcome. How are
Um,
you?
yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, good, good. Looking forward to having a little trip down memory lane as to where you was and where you are now, bro. So I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to
there's a lot to unpack.
yeah, definitely. So quickly, just wanted to jump into it. Say a little bit about where you was before you first reached out to me. How was life?
Yeah, so I think the first time I reached out to you was early 2022. Um, I was basically like pit of despair. I was signed off from my job. I couldn't get out of bed in the mornings. I basically had what I thought was no reason to carry on. Like I thought there was nothing left. Like for example, my mum would go to work. I was living at home with my mum and dad, and she would go to work, and like she's told me since, not at the time, but she would sit there at work worried all day that I wouldn't be there when she got back. Well, I would be there, but not with us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's something that like is really tough to hear that that's the effect that your life had on someone. But when you're in that mindset of like severe depression, you just don't realize that at all. And like you don't think you have anything worth living for when clearly I had my mum, my dad, other people around me. There was loads of things, but I just didn't see it. It's like tunnel vision.
It's so frustrating for other people to sit on the outside, like, especially if your mum thought that she'd come home and you'd done something. So what were you struggling with the most back then? I know you was on the antidepressants. How many antidepressants was you taking a day?
I was taking the maximum dose of fluoxetine, I think it was. I was taking the maximum dose of mirtazapine, and there was one more, but I can't remember. It was like a beta blocker, like anti-anxiety thing.
Yeah,
And I don't think it worked, but none of it worked really. It was just it was just like they were just giving me drugs and just sending me away rather than giving me an actual like solution to anything.
yeah,
That was their
definitely.
answer. Just up the dosage every time. But yeah, I eventually left my job that I was signed off from. I basically I built up so much time off through sick leave that I couldn't face going back. Um, like the longer you leave something, the worse it gets. So when
Yeah,
I was signed off, I just kept it come back to the date where I was meant to go back to work, and then I'd end up getting signed off again because I just couldn't bring myself to face them because I had massive guilt as well for the way I was feeling. Like they were my friends, my colleagues, like I let them down. So it was really tough to go back to because like although it's difficult for other people to see you in that place, it does impact them.
mm,
So then obviously you build up this story in your head that makes it even worse, where like you've just got so much guilt about it.
yeah,
Um, so like obviously I'm dealing with my own battles in my head, and then I'm dealing with the guilt and the shame of letting other people down, and it all just gets a lot.
yeah, definitely. And then it's the lack of knowledge of how to actually get out of that headspace as well, isn't it? Because we're not taught it.
Yeah, like where unless you know, where do you even start?
Mm.
Um,
And you're so mentally exhausted that anything you try, you don't put full effort in anyway because you're absolutely knackered.
yeah, for sure. And like there, a few people, like a few months before I contacted you, people had told me about you, like people I knew from the gym. And in my head, I'm like, I don't need help. I'm a
Yeah,
bloke. Like, I don't, that's embarrassing. Like, that was the, I was what, 20, 27, 28, and that was the sort of like mentality that I had,
mm,
whereas like, I can do this on my own, even though I had no belief or anything that I could do it on my own because I'd been dealing with this since I was like 14, 15. Like, it started when I was at school. I'd get
yeah,
on the bus at one bus stop and then I'd get off at the next one because I built up so much anxiety in my head that I'd walk home and then just call in sick.
no way. And
Yeah.
when I remember you saying about you used to sleep with a fan to block out the thoughts.
Yeah. So that was something I did for years, to be honest. I couldn't sleep. I think it was partly the medication. It just like caused so much like adrenaline in my body. But like I'd lay there at night just having like thoughts, like just things just going through my head, not necessarily all bad, but like because I wasn't at peace or wasn't like in a good place. There was just so much thinking, and I think about things that I did when I was drunk in a club like 3 years earlier, and
Yeah.
then I'd give myself anxiety, and I'd never get to sleep. So I'd have the fan on just for the noise, so I couldn't hear my own thoughts, and that was how I managed to get to sleep.
And then talk about the self, because ultimately, right, change means feeling a different emotion and having to do things. So, what was it like with the fear, the self-doubt, the guilt, and the shame? Did that just have you sleeping most of the days away, hiding away from the world?
Yeah, so some of the days, I could distract myself. I'd sit and play video games. It's something where I was locked in on it. It wasn't the right thing to do,
Yeah.
but it was a distraction. Other days, especially ones where like my mum would always try and help me in the mornings, like help me.
Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, so that throws big time.
So, yeah, your mum was always trying to help you.
Yeah, so then like if I couldn't do it, it felt like I was like ashamed of myself. Like so then I'd like punish myself and just like close the curtains, back to bed, and then just waste the day away. And then when she came back home, like she'd been like obviously she got not angry, like she was frustrated, like she didn't want to see me like that. So
Mm,
when she'd leave for work, she was a bit frustrated. Um, but then like I'd lay in bed all day, and then when she got home, like I'd come out my shell again because she's thought about it. Um, and like it was just like back to normal.
yeah.
So like my day started at like 4 p.m. when she got home from work. Um, And that's
Crazy.
another reason why I like struggled to sleep because
Yeah.
I was so out of any sort of routine or anything like that.
So, what made you finally reach out to me then? Out of did you try therapy and other things? What made you reach out to me?
Yeah, so over the years, like from when I was like 14, 15, I was like referred by like the NHS to different counselors and stuff. Um, Never got on with it. They were just digging into my past a lot. Like, were you bullied? Did anything happen? What's caused, like something must have caused this depression? And I was like, nothing. My life's been grand up until I was about 14, 15, and then I don't know, something happened. But I couldn't relate to these counselors because they'd just done courses, been to uni, studied it. They hadn't lived it. So
Mm,
they'd sort of describe a situation and they're like, what you should do in this situation is this. And I'm like, have you tried that? Like, have you been in that situation? I was like, I know you haven't, and I know Brad has.
yeah,
So like that's what I found about this journey. Like I've I've never related to someone on so many different levels before
yeah.
until I met you.
That was a beautiful thing. I remember our first call, and I just saw me when I was struggling in it, and it's just easy because then I'm just like, go and do this. It was something simple. Was the biggest impact for you was just literally the structure, the routine, and the going for the walk and saying hello to a random person. That's
Yeah.
that was the biggest task ever, which just proves the headspace. And now you're absolutely flying. So you've gone from being, sleeping a day's away, riddled with self-doubt, antidepressants. Talk about life now. Talk about how things are going now. Because you was living at home. So
Yeah.
now I want you to tell me how life is and what a change it's been.
Yeah, so I was 28 and I was living at home and obviously we'd worked together for about a year. Um And we talked about like what my dreams were and what I wanted to achieve. And then you were like, just start living it then, start being that person. And
Yeah.
then next thing, like literally next thing, a friend of mine offered me a job in Bristol, which is like 3 hours away from where I lived. So it was something like that was not in my comfort zone.
Still gives me goosebumps. This. I can't wait to hear
It
it.
was a job that I'd never had any experience in before. But he was like, I know you, I know what you're capable of.
Yeah,
And he was like, I'm willing to take this chance on you. Do you want to move to Bristol? And I was like, well, I'm in a great headspace now after like working with you for however long it was. Um, I do want to move out, so I was like, I'm gonna take the leap, and yeah, I haven't really looked back since. Like life's been just leveling up more and more since, to be honest.
amazing. Look at the smile. So there's no antidepressants, right?
They're long gone. That was gone. We worked on that quite early.
Yeah, I think they're 22 weeks. I think we had you off them, and you're on them for 14 years, right? So you've done that. Then
Yeah,
obviously you're smashing it in work now. You have a lady partner that you now live with. You
yeah,
have a partner, yeah. So you're in a
yeah.
relationship now.
That's another thing. Yeah, that's good. I met her when I was in Bristol. Um, yeah, I don't know. I've always had like when I've spoken to girls before, it's always been like a fear thing. Like I always doubted myself, so I'd never like I'd talk to them and then it would just let it phase out.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, I was like, when I saw her, I was like, I need to take on a date next week. And I was like, so I literally locked it in straight away, like few messages, and I was like, do you want to go out next week? And she was like, yeah.
Brilliant.
And no, I was
Amazing.
nervous for sure, but
Mm.
um,
But we work so hard on building the man. That's
yeah,
it. So
that's the thing. I think the fear, not just dating, but like the fear and self-doubt held me back from so many things, like jobs. I spent 9 years, like from when I left school, I've spent 9 years doing the same job in a warehouse, just like manual labor sort of thing.
yeah.
And it's not what I wanted to do. And I
Mm.
knew I could do something that I wanted to do. I just didn't know what, and I didn't have the courage to apply for anything. So it was
Yeah.
just like conquering that self-doubt and that fear of the unknown is something that was really important to me.
Crippling. So now life is flying. So we had a break and then you got back in touch for us to get working together. Because what happens is with my coaching, it's like we get you out of the rut, we get you sorted. Then in order to go to that next level, it's going to take a completely different version of you. So obviously the teachings are completely different.
Yeah.
How's the second part of the coaching for you?
Yeah, so I think what it was is when we worked together before, I was unemployed and I was living at home. So we brought myself to a level of like, it was basically like getting out the trenches. So we brought myself to a
Yeah.
level of like happiness,
Wow.
um, abundance, gratefulness. And then obviously I took that with me to Bristol, started my new job. Then like when your life's very different when you've got responsibilities of a job. I've got rent to pay. I've
Yeah.
got a partner. Um, so like a lot of external factors sort of came in, and it wasn't that I fell back into a bad place. It was more that it was just a lot of overwhelming things. Like life was getting serious, you know.
Yeah.
So it was just sort of how can I get back to like a flow state whilst all these things like because life is very unpredictable. There's things happening at work. There's things happening in your relationships and stuff like that every day
Yeah.
that when you live on your own, you don't get like when you live on your own, you kind of just like you do your own thing.
Yeah.
So with a lot going on in my life, I just wanted to sort of bring myself back to that state of complete peace. Um, I'd found myself sort of slacking on things because like I think it's easy when you've got a lot going on in your life to like, oh, I won't do this today or I won't do that today. But those are
Yeah.
the things that got you to where you were. So it
Yeah.
was a case of bringing back the basics to feel how you want to feel in this new environment.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. So, a lot of it was ultimately just completely rewiring the mind, belief systems, self-doubt, fear that a lot of people are probably going through now or are going through that are watching this. If you had any advice to anyone that might be on the fence about getting help, because you said at the start how daunting it is to reach out to another male and be like, I need help. And I had a guy yesterday say the same thing. He's like, mate, it took me months to message you. It's just so anxious. What would you say to someone that's needing help but sat there watching content or anxious about reaching out to someone like me to get the help?
Um, I'd say 100% do it, but I know it's easier to say that than do
Yeah,
it.
so
I,
easy. Yeah.
I think if you know who you want to be and you're currently not the person that you want to be, I think that's the biggest indicator. I knew that I was in a place where this is not me, this is not who I am.
Mm,
So I really, and I didn't know how to be the person I wanted to be. So that was like the reason I reached out. But honestly, I'd I'd recommend you to literally everyone. I've never had this kind of, it's not even like a life coach client relationship. It's like
mm.
having a best mate that you can talk
Yeah.
to that's like, I don't know, when you've got mates you've grown up with all your life, it's different.
Mm,
Maybe you wouldn't talk to them as much about it, but like with you, obviously I didn't know you at first, but I
yeah.
just felt like instantly that I could tell you anything.
Yeah.
Um, and you'd been through everything that I'd been through, so it was all so relatable. Whereas like obviously your mates might not have done.
Yeah.
Um, so like you were the mate that I never knew I needed. Um,
Sick.
yeah, it's been honestly an incredible experience. I come off the calls and like I'm just buzzing. Um, and it just lasts. Like you take that for the whole week and then it comes around to Friday again, well, whatever day the call is, and
Yeah.
I'm just yeah, just pure elation.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a beautiful experience. I wish everyone was able to experience it. But you also need to realize how far you have come. And it is like two mates, but just the mate that puts you in your place and gets you up taking action on everything, you know?
Yeah.
So
But like as far as like the stigma behind it, I thought the same. Like I didn't want to reach out. I thought I could do it on my own. But like I didn't tell anyone at first when I reached out. Like it can be like a personal thing.
yeah,
Like I think something you do in private. But then when I eventually, after a few calls, I was so confident with my new self,
yeah,
um, that I told all my friends, and I was like, even if you're not in like the depths of despair like I was, like honestly, I recommend everyone to have a life coach.
yeah.
Because the feeling is just incredible.
Brilliant. I appreciate it, mate. That's absolutely a massive, massive help. And I hope anyone, if you're watching this, just reach out now and get a little bit of help and you can have a result like Callan. Big love.